Are we running again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are off camera, by the way.
On people who are looking for lost treasure and that kind of stuff. Excuse me just a minute. I got a little piece of business to take care of there. I just flattened the cockroach. This is bent coat hanger, the most traditional of all dowsing rods. Okay, now you can pay thousands of dollars for a dowsing rod if you want to. In fact, if you're embarrassed by dowsing and want to pretend that it's actually electronic, you can pay $20,000 for a so-called electronic dowsing rod that isn't a dowsing rod. I mean, because it's electronic. It's got a readout, you know, and whatever. So that way you can deny it's dowsing. Okay, but it's dowsing. But they all work like the bent coat hanger. It's a rod on a swivel. And the idea is that you're just walking around, just holding the thing loosely, and it kind of wanders around. But somewhere along the line, it's gonna just kind of seem to want to home in on something, and you're looking for treasure. It may be pointing to treasure, so you kind of follow it. And somewhere along the line, you either dig a hole or find a good excuse not to. In dealing with public utilities, they usually use two coat hangers. It's usually just literally coat hangers, just like these. And you walk forward like this. And as you cross a pipe or cable, whatever utility you're looking for, the rods will go like that. And then as you go past it, the rods will separate again. You may think I'm kidding, but I'm not. Of course, I work for a company that makes equipment for locating buried utilities. So this is how we know about these things. And the equipment we've got nowadays is a lot better than what it used to be. It used to be dowsing rods were standard equipment on utility crew truck. If they were the business where they had to be able to locate water lines and power lines, and, buried infrastructure. And the reason they did this, it wasn't because they were ideologues. It wasn't because they were off on cloud nine. It's because they discovered it worked. We're talking practical people.
Yeah.
Does it always work? No. Not very many things always work. Okay, but it worked often enough to be useful. Some people were better at it than others. Even nowadays, quite a few crews who are on they're in a business where they have to be able to locate underground utilities. Somewhere on that truck hidden out of sight will be paramedic coat hangers. Okay, now it's kind of interesting that there's people that work in construction of one kind or another that are that have to locate utilities, and they have their own way of reasoning about the whole thing. They're not wacko. Most of them, the first time they tried it, they were skeptical. But they found out it worked, and a lot of times they'll say, they don't understand how it works. They're not really concerned with that. All they know is that somehow it works. It's kind of like a cell phone. Yeah, lots of people use cell phones. Ask them how a cell phone works. They haven't got the foggiest notion. All they care is that it does. A few years ago, I had a friend who was really big on dowsing, and I hadn't done any dowsing of that kind. So, anyway, we were talking about it. So I said, well, he suggested I give it a try. So I figured, well, okay. I didn't really know what was going to happen. But I told him, I don't want any clues. I want blind dowsing. Blind dowsing. To me, that's interesting. I'm not interested in dowsing something where there's clues, because I know enough about the subconscious to, if I'm out there with dowsing rods, looking around, especially if it's something where I'm somewhat familiar with, well, then my subconscious is going to pick up on stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I could walk across a pipe, and the rods would cross, and it'd just be my hands moving the things. So, I'm not interested in that. Mm-hmm. So he said, well, okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll blindfold you, and we'll go up behind the house. I'd never been behind his house before, and he says, I'll walk you down the path behind the house, and we'll see what happens. And the dowsing rods he had were there was something he made. I think it was bent brass rods in a copper sleeve for a bearing or so. It was a little bit fancier than coat hangers, but worked exactly the same way. And so anyway, we're walking along behind his house. I'm blindfolded. I can't see anything. I'm not aware of him providing me any clues to anything, although I can't absolutely rule that out. And at a particular point in the path, the rods cross. I can feel them. I can't see them crossing, but I can feel them cross. And then as I continue to walk past, they separate again. So I walk backwards. And then separate again. There was nothing ambiguous about it. It was like tuning. It was like tuning in a station on an AM radio dial. Yeah, it's just yeah, back and forth over it. I nailed it. It was the water line.
Wow.
And again, then there was a couple other things. There was a gas line, and I think the power line I think came from front. But anyway, that first one kind of blew me away. I was blindfolded in an area that I'd never seen anyhow. And the response was definite. There was nothing ambiguous about it. It was repeatable. And when the blindfold was removed, I could see, yep, there's the water. Those are where the connections are. The pipe obviously runs right there. Yeah. Later in the day, did some experiments trying to locate some other stuff, and I got some interesting results also. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so that's something I've experienced personally, and what's the underlying mechanism behind it? I am totally baffled. I'm willing to admit I'm totally baffled. Proud people are not willing to admit they're totally baffled. And that brings us to the treasure hunters. Most of them couldn't box their way out of a paper bag. And there's a reason for it. They're always coming up with explanations of things they do not understand. And what that means is that every time they fail, they have an alibi. And if you have an alibi, every time you fail, you never learn.
Yeah.
And I was a very active participant on what was then the best dowsing and so-called long-range locating forum. And it was just amazing to see these guys who are just really really big on so-called what is a long-range locator? It's a dowsing rod with electronic hood ornaments, so that you can pretend it's not dowsing.
Yeah.
And it was obvious they couldn't find anything. It was obvious to them. Yeah. the consulate had this. The consulate has stories of the thing they found, but yeah, yeah, it was there, but there was a fence in the way, or so I couldn't dig it up, or yeah, yeah, it was there, but I positively located it 30 feet down. I didn't have a backhoe, or yeah, it was there, but
Yeah.
you hear this over and over again. Yeah, it's really valuable. Yeah, I located that sucker, but by golly, damn, I couldn't actually retrieve it. Couldn't even prove it was there in the first place. Yeah. Yeah. The only evidence was the so-called dowsing rod. But this was from people who always have an alibi. So they couldn't find anything. Okay, now, most of them did occasionally find stuff. How did they find it? Well, they bring along a metal detector. And so, they go someplace like the beach, and go dowsing and say, oh yeah, I think there's something over there. And they go over there, and the dowsing rod doesn't pinpoint things close enough, so you got to have a metal detector. So they whip out the metal detector and they either find something or they don't. And if they do, then they attribute it to the dowsing rod. And if they don't, well, that's what kind of a story is that? So they don't tell that one.
Yeah.
And they have all of these alibis. Why did the Dows fail? It's so many alibis. The phase of the moon, or it was a ghost line signal for something else, or just a bunch of alibis. So they can't learn from failure, because every failure has an alibi that consists of something other than their need to learn.
Yeah.
It was probably the phase of the moon. Oh, sunspots. Well, the K. NASA said the K index was thus and such last night. Just there's so many alibis. The people use dowsing for locating buried utilities. They quickly figure out whether they have the knack or they don't.
Yeah.
What they don't want is alibis, because
Yeah.
alibis can kill you. Nobody wants to put a shovel through an 18 kilovolt underground power line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, most of dowsing is bogus. It's not, it's not in miracle territory, and you can tell it's not just by listening to all of the alibis. just an elaborate system of alibis to explain why it didn't work. The explanation is never the following words: I wasn't any good at it. So the interesting part, in my opinion, this is the people who locate public utilities, and those people don't want alibis. Yeah. They're not ideologues. It's a tool. It's a tool that's either useful or it's not useful, just like anything else they've got on that truck. Part of the explanation is just experience in locating stuff. Your subconscious knows bunches of stuff that you don't realize you know. Okay, but then there's that other thing that I've experienced myself, and that is blind dowsing in a location where I'd never been before, and I was blindfolded intentionally to make the whole thing as blinded as possible.
Yeah.
I didn't want clues. And if I'd had clues, there probably would have been a distraction.
Well, thank you.
We're not done yet. Miracles. There's a video blog on YouTube. I'll refrain from naming it, where it attracts a lot of Christian apologists and atheists. It's an atheist video that has a title that's intended to provoke Christian ideologues, and so we get a lot of really upset apologists posting there. It makes it interesting. And one of the big arguments is, well, what about miracles? I've seen miracles happen myself. So, you saw or even personally experienced a miracle healing, and so that proves the entire Christian dogma system? I don't think so. Do you realize that such things happen all over the world in all cultures and religions? The only reason you're saying that Jesus Christ did it is because that's the only explanation you've got. If you had some other explanation, you'd use that one. So it didn't have anything to do with it. Didn't have anything to do with either your God or somebody else's. Let's see. Miracles that happened to me. I've had a few. Yeah, I've already mentioned the miracle at Fell Street, where lo and behold, I pulled a maneuver. I pulled a maneuver with a motorcycle that not even a skilled stunt rider probably could have pulled on demand. But somehow saved my neck. And another one, this is going to be a complicated story. And it's not going to, and this story doesn't end with a good explanation. Me and my then girlfriend were out in Butano, Redwoods Park. I'm not sure just exactly what it was called, but that's the gist of it. Yeah. It was weekend. We decided to go down the coast a little ways and spend some time outdoors. It had been foggy all day, you know. So yeah, the summertime Pacific Coast, Central California, and she was taking LSD. I wasn't. This was during the hippie era. And we're just walking around in the woods, and we were sitting on a log, talking about something. I don't remember what. And she decided to stand up, and just as on a bit dead calm. Just as she was standing up, there was a gust of wind that came through, and she's like, "Wow." And we'd probably been discussing theology. Is there a God? Is there a God? If so, etc. Are we up against another 30-minute limit here?